In local matters, President Trump may not have appeared on the ballot yesterday, but all three of the candidates he endorsed won their races. In South Carolina, he tweeted his congratulations to incumbent Governor Henry McMaster on his, quote, big election win.
Earlier this week, the president himself appeared at one of McMaster's rallies. The governor fended off a challenge from a self-made millionaire. Bristow Marchant is a government reporter for the state newspaper and joins us now from Columbia, South Carolina. So, Governor Henry McMaster advanced in yesterday's Republican primary runoff. What role do you think the president played in that race? I mean, at that rally, he didn't spend a lot of time. Well, I shouldn't say he didn't spend a lot of time talking about McMaster. It's just that in terms of the news coverage, mostly we were talking about what Donald Trump had to say, not about McMaster.
Right, exactly. And it's not clear just how much of an impact the president's visit had on the race. Governor McMaster has obviously been a political fixture here in South Carolina. He's held statewide office before. He's kind of an establishment figure here, so it was a surprise to a lot of people when he came out pretty early to endorse Donald Trump early in the 2016 primary, and obviously that paid off in dividends for him this week when the president came down and campaigned for him the day before yesterday's primary.
So what are the issues that matter most to South Carolina voters, and how will those issues play in the general election this November?
Well, in the Republican race that just concluded here, we had a lot of talk of some of the more hot-button issues for Republican voters. Obviously, abortion and gun rights were big issues in that race, and also taxes to a significant extent. The legislature here just last year passed a gas tax increase to deal with road and infrastructure issues. That's been unpopular with some Republican voters. And Governor McMaster kind of got hit for that, even though he vetoed that legislation and then it was passed over his veto. On the Democratic side, Governor McMaster will face a longtime state rep, James Smith, on the Democratic side. He's the nominee there. He focused a lot more on education, healthcare issues, expanding Medicaid, which South Carolina has not done under the Affordable Care Act, and focusing more on economic opportunity issues. So there obviously have been speaking to two different camps here. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out in November if more or different issues come to the forefront. Governor McMaster has kind of harped on the state's economic growth in his time in office, and that'll probably be a big focus of his campaign in November.
I just want to ask you about something else. On Friday night, Republican congressional candidate Katy Arrington was in a serious car accident. In fact, it was a fatal car accident. She was injured. Do you know anything about her condition?
It seems like she's going to be okay. She was hit head-on. The car she was in was hit head-on the highway near Charleston, and she had to be rushed to the hospital, she and a friend who were in the car. She had something like 2 surgeries in the course of 9 hours, Friday night into Saturday morning. She was in critical condition for a while. Fortunately, it looks now like she's going to be okay. It doesn't look like she sustained any serious permanent damage. Last we heard, they expect her to be out of the hospital within 2 weeks, and she'll be back up walking around, presumably on the campaign trail. Meanwhile, her Democratic opponent in that race, Joe Cunningham, has suspended campaigning while she's in the hospital. So very, at least for now, a congenial race there between those two.
Yes, there's all this talk about the lack of civility in politics. Here's a great example. It still exists, at least where you are. Bristow Marchant, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.